Hello everyone, I'm really sorry that I can't be with you today, but here's a whistle-stop tour and summary of seals in 2022 around the southwest. We always have to thank our funders, without whom we can't function effectively as a charity. You will have probably heard me say this before, but grey seals are one of the rarest seal species in the world. They're our equivalent of an African elephant. There are the same number of grey seals in the world as there are people in Cornwall, a fact I always find a little surprising, so they're protected in European and UK law. We have over a third of the world's population of grey seals in the UK, although that is down from 50% when I started doing this. There are more red squirrels in the UK than there are grey seals, even though we've got a third of the world's population. So the southwest seals are their most predictable and reliably sighted marine mammal, and that makes them really important to wildlife spotting businesses and our coastal economy. We had a busy year in 2022 with 13 surveys every single day of the year from 362 locations. We processed over 120,000 photos for over 12,000 individual seal IDs. Had a max of 150 IDs from a single survey, including 7 seals that were first seen in the year 2000 who were still around in 2022. Unfortunately, we had 124 unique entangled seals and over 1,300 seals were seriously disturbed into the sea in 223 incidents. On the plus side, 181 unique tag seals were seen. We were very busy sharing all that information with lots of people. We doubled our beneficiaries to over 27,000 in 2022 in 631 activities, of which 201 were UK-wide activities and 38 were global. Okay, on to seals and pupping. So we had you'll notice probably that this is a harbour seal or a common seal. We had Serena shown in the photo with her second successfully weaned pup. This is the second on record since our records began 20 plus years ago, and it was thanks to the local community who kept the news under wraps while the pup and mum were there. Our long-term data for grey seals shows that pupping has moved earlier from October, when we had most pups born, to November, and last year in 2022 most pups were born in September, followed by August, which takes them into the summer peak season. We also had haul-out extensions being used in the summer, haul-outs moving from one site to another, and recolonisations of sites that had been lost. Whitecoat pups were recorded on 530 occasions at 40 different sites. Pups constituted 1% of all the seals observed, and 90% of them were born on the north coast. This is Ghost, our world record breaking mum, at the bottom of the photo, and her pup in the top of the photo is her 19th pup in 20 years. Last year, you might remember, she had a pup on the south coast, but we think maybe she was caught short and didn't make it back to this site where she prefers to have her pups because she usually shows excellent site fidelity. In contrast, Waves, another mum, was back to pup in 2022. This was her 7th pup that we have, 5 of them born on one site and 2 born at different sites. Again, you can see she is a seal that we only ever really see during the pupping season, although we have caught her molting a little on the south coast, but she's a great mover. Lucky Bunting, who is a legend, who was rescued in 2016 by British Divers Marine Life Rescue and us at SRT. She had her 3rd pup in 3 years, so that shows how successful that rescue was, and we're hoping one day that we might be able to rescue Legs. She had her last pup that we're aware of in 2018 and got entangled in 2019, and this was her first pup that we've seen her with since that time. In terms of seal movements, which we track using tags and photo ID, so this seal had been spotted quite a lot on the Roseland until Kirsten was actually able to get the tag number, and we discovered it had been released in Southeast Ireland, Courtown, by Seal Rescue Island. So that's another Irish link, which is great. Here's one of our French links, Christine, who was released in Brittany. She had 9 IDs in 2022, an ex-rehab from Oceanopolis in Brest. And then this seal was the most exciting in 2022. This little female who had 75 bleached into her side had actually been rescued in Biarritz in southern France near the Spanish border and then released there, and within 28 days she was seen swimming in Mounts Bay with Andrea Hunt. 800 kilometres in less than a month. How incredible is that for a few-month-old pup? And we were also excited to see this link from North Devon to SWME, Southwest Wales, by Puppet, who is a beautiful adult female. So this summarises our links. Our links from Cornwall go north 450 kilometres to the Isle of Man, into North Wales, South Wales, South East Ireland, Isles of Scilly, now down to the south of France, 800 kilometres away, into Devon and Dorset, and then through all the way to Belgium and Holland, which is 650 kilometres away. And this is a hot off the press. The circles on this map show the number of seals linked to other sites, and the width of the line shows the number of connections between two locations. And you can see that basically marine habitat is very connected by seals. They obviously need joined up habitat in order to survive. And you can also see that there are lots of north to south coast links. Obviously the seals don't go over land, they go around the coast. We thought you'd like to see this put together by Jeremy Gilson, who leads the Lizard Hub, to show you the regularity of some of the seal sites. So basically this seal is called Yogi. He's an adult male and he spends a lot of time on the lizard, but he then goes round to the north coast to be the dominant male. And you can see he leaves the lizard with ridiculous regularity between the 17th of August and the 27th of August. Something drives him to leave. He arrives at Porthtowan and then he's back at the lizard in October, between the 14th and the 27th of October. So amazing regular consistency between some of these patterns. They have seasonal regularly visits to different habitats. And I put this busy slide together in November 2022. All these seals were seen. The sites are in the colours in the middle. The calendars have dates across the top, years across the top and months down the side, and the numbers represent the number of IDs. And you can see that every single one is different. So the message from this slide is every seal, like us, is unique. You will be aware that there are cumulative impacts impacting on our oceans and therefore on seals, from climate change through to prey, habitat loss, pollution, micro and macro pollution, micro and macro plastic pollution, chemical outflows, pharmaceutical runoff, bycatch and entanglement, disturbance, still some persecution and infections. All of those impacting on our seals, which means that we get a lot of dead seals. Unfortunately, we think that Ellis, this common seal, departed in 2022 because you can see from his calendar he was a regular visitor throughout the year and we haven't seen him since Feb 2022. Probably died as a result of this infection that tracked and he had for several years. In terms of grey seals, the number of grey seals, thanks to the Cornwall Wildlife Trust marine strandings data, has gone up, although it was slightly down in 2022, which is really good news, including Tulip, who passed. She was a mother who adopted a seal pup after a storm in southwest Wales, so she was a bit of a legend. For the Wildlife Trust Marine Strandings Network 20th Forum, I pulled this data together that shows out of the 30 seals that we've managed to ID, dead seals we've managed to ID and age, very difficult to age them, we've discovered that quite a lot of them die under the age of 20, which is shorter than their life expectancy. So that has led to some concerns. So one of the things we did was when the Debs Foundation kindly asked us if they could fund any research work, we asked if they would look at PCB levels in grey seals. So James Barnett from the Cornwall Marine Pathology team sent 7 samples of adult male grey seals to CSIP, who then got them analysed by CFAS. And what was discovered was that 6 of the 7 adult male grey seals were above the low toxicity threshold and 3 were above the high threshold for toxic effects, mostly being immunosuppression or reduced reproductivity. Blackwall was one of those seals we were able to identify, and she died in 2022, or rather she was euthanized because she was unresponsive on the beach, but her photo ID work enabled us to track her wound progression over time, although it had healed by the time she died. What was worrying was that we think that she might be a new emerging issue, as her post-mortem suggested that a possible cause of death was live bycatch. We worked on flying rings in 2022 to see if we could get people to take them off the shelves and get people to use solid discs rather than rings. Pets at Home and Tesco's took them off the shelves, added 600 CVS vet practices. We've currently had no response from Crofts, Halford or Cotswold Outdoors, but that's work in progress. Lots of coastal shops have taken them off the shelves, and Peter Perkins, one of our amazing volunteers, took the posters to every single vet practice in Cornwall and had some great conversations with them, and he's now approaching all the dog grooming parlours. Sadly, it will not be in time for Commuter, who is still severely entangled in a flying ring. Bless him, he was flirting with a female in this photo, but you can see the dreadful effect it has had on the shape of his head. He is very stunted in terms of his growth there. Okay, climate change. So we think potentially that it's having a phenology shift on the West Cornwall haul out, where numbers used to peak in March and April, and again in 2022 they peaked in January. The mackerel fishery is getting later, used to start in the summer, and now it starts in December. So there is now a spatial and temporal overlap leading to this, which is more hooked seals, another emerging issue. Fortunately, this juvenile was rescued and 22 hooks were removed by British Divers Marine Life Rescue. On West Cornwall haul out, we used to have infrequent rockfalls, but they're now getting more regular. 1 in 2019, 1 in 2020, 4 in 2021 and 8 in 2022. Killing seals potentially under the fall, but also on some of them we were able to see straight lines in the sand below them to the sea, suggesting that they were increasing disturbance as well. This particular rockfall on one of the massive beaches at North Cornwall, this is the usual haul out numbers, and after the rockfall in March the haul out was abandoned by hundreds of seals, all displaced potentially as a result of this. In September we had some hammering rain when I was doing a survey that in 2 back-to-back storms actually disturbed 53% of the hauled seals back into the sea. Presumably they're very sensitive muzzles, more sensitive than our hands, don't like hammering rain, and neither do they like hail. In 7 minutes we had the biggest disturbance stampede in our records. 272 seals rushed off the beach because of this very severe hailstorm. These are the seals before and after. I didn't show the whole of the beach, so there aren't 272 there. But on the upside, when we marshal volunteers when they're needed with British Divers Marine Life Rescue, seal pups that are born on particularly public beaches with their mother actually get, light hours volunteers there all the way through daylight in order to engage with the public, talk to them about why they need to give these animals space, and this pup successfully weaned and became a fat jonk. This was another public beach where there are people on this beach and a mum had her pup here, but we engaged with all the stakeholders at this place and they put up their own signs, and then they monitored people as they accessed the beach, drew a line in the sand and asked people to not go past it, which was great. Unfortunately, this beach has now become a brand new haul out, so we've got all sorts of new negotiations to go through with that. We do have a video on our YouTube channel all about the impacts of climate change on seals. It's 6 minutes, so please do have a look at it. We collect data to inform mitigation, and entanglement rates were at the 2%, which is the low we've had previously, but seems to fluctuate a lot. However, the number of different unique entangled seals seen on a single survey was 23. And the number of unique animals counted in 2022 that were entangled was 124. Our disturbance records show that events of disturbance peak in July and August, or June, July and August, so we can focus our attention on when we need to act. But when we look at the number of seals impacted, we get peaks in April for Easter and also in the winter holidays. So we also know we need to take action then. If you ignore 2019 and 2021 when we had increased survey effort, you can actually see that the number of seal events continues to go up in terms of disturbance, and the number of seals impacted also continues to rise, with a peak, as I said, of disturbance events in the summer. But because we have more seals around in the winter and more events in the summer, we tend to get an evened out number of seals seriously impacted. Now there are seals hauled out here. This is one of our sensitive seal sites, and they're moving and going into the sea here because of the huge amount of human activity, one every 5.5 minutes. Whereas this time lapse shows one every 2 minutes, different paddle sporters and 2 boats. There are seals trying to sleep in the sea here, and if you can imagine trying to sleep in your bed at night and somebody walking in through the door every 2 minutes, you'd know the following morning you wouldn't have had a very good night's sleep. So we joined the Devon and Cornwall Police and the Marine Management Organisation, who launched Operation Seabird, which includes seals and cetaceans, as an awareness raising programme to mitigate disturbance. We also worked with all these representative bodies to produce advice about seals that they then shared and wrote. British Canoeing, South West Coast Path, Cornish Pilot Gig Association, lots of different organisations to whom we're hugely grateful. And we also work with landowners, particularly the National Trust, who not only put up fences, but also put up signs for temporary beach closures when pups needed it. We're hugely grateful to them too. Please look for our social media about best practice on a Friday and a Saturday and a week before school holidays. Not only do we show disturbance, but we also show what natural behaviour looks like, i.e. they're sleeping when we're not around. If their heads are up, it's because we've disturbed them. And we do have some great cartoony messages to share as well. So please share our posts, look for them on a Friday and a Saturday. We all need to point our finger at ourselves for the issue of disturbance. If we all practice good practice and are 100 metres away, the problem can be solved tomorrow, which is much simpler than a lot of the other pressures that seals face. If you want to know more, we now have 2 courses with the Field Studies Council, Discovering UK Seals and Seal Field Skills to Inform Conservation. 4-week online courses, £30 if you get us to do as a group discount, and £60 if you want to go on your own. We also do online school events. This is me with puppets for Key Stage 1, so please tell people in schools that we do those. And my book was republished with all the best practice in red font in 2020, actually early 2023. We've got all these free resources on Google for you to access if you would like them. And our conclusions. Every seal is unique and seal society is very complex. Things are changing temporally and spatially. Things are changing at a haul out and an individual seal level. Climate change is adding to already high levels of disturbance, and there are new issues such as live bycatch, hook seals and flying ring seals, as well as those. So this is the interaction slide that shows that seals link pretty much with all the other Southwest marine ecosystem topics, from seals needing to link to the seabed because they're a benthic feeder, to spatial overlap and potential competition between seabirds and cetaceans for the same prey, water quality, looking at toxins and turbidity for molting pups who are learning to feed, through to floating wind with potential noise impacts or activity levels, maybe positive interactions with protected no-take zones. So we pretty much link with all the other different Southwest marine ecosystems topics. Thanks very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed the summary of the Seals Southwest.